So they say great things come in two, and we're back with the second episode of Welcome to Readwald. Hello and welcome back to the Readwald Trust podcast. Today I'm joined by the head of Alderwood Academy, Tom Baker. We're going to be discussing social and emotional learning, but before we do any of that, please make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date with everything Readwald, and also jump into the comments section and tell us maybe one activity that you did when you were at school that helped your social skills to develop. Tom, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Good.
Very good.
You can probably tell that I'm quite sniffly today, so we'll try and get through this the best that we can. But I wonder if you could just start by telling us about your journey in education and what's led you to Alderwood.
Okay, so I've been at Alderwood for 13 years. I went to Manchester University, graduated, came back home to Ipswich, got a job in a big mainstream secondary school, was there for 5 years, and my job there sort of shifted, and by the end of it I was working within the SCN department and actually working with the sort of the trickier kids. And then that sort of prompted me to sort of make the jump into alternative provision and came to Alderwood as a member of learning support, so a TA. And then just sort of after a few years did my teacher training on the job here, progressed here, sort of middle leadership, senior leadership, and then got headship, I'd say maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Worked across the trust at St Christopher's and here, and then obviously now I'm primarily here. And
it's a step that you're very happy with, the step that you're pleased you took?
Yeah, I love it. I'm lucky in the position that I'm in. I've got a great staff team, a great trust, well supported, and the kids that we have through the door are amazing. They're diverse, they're complex at the same time, but every child's journey is really individual, and we support in so many different ways. It's not just a case of there's a sort of standard presentation of a pupil. You have to adapt. Every child, their outcomes are going to be different. So yeah, really fortunate in what we do and the pupils that we serve and the families and the community.
And I think, you sort of reiterated a lot of what Alice was saying the other day on the other podcast, is the fact that every child is different and has different needs, and therefore what makes Alderwood stand out for those children compared to perhaps a mainstream school?
I think it's just more of a targeted approach. We can pick these kids up that we don't always have children that come from mainstream all the time, but predominantly they are, but we support them in different ways. So it's just about understanding the pupil in more detail, really understanding their needs, and sometimes their needs become a bit more apparent when they move into a setting like Alderwood. They sometimes get a bit missed in mainstream because they're so busy in terms of just pupil numbers, and classrooms are bigger and staff ratio is lower. So we're able to really sort of try and unpick the pupil needs and support them as best we can to whatever they might have after Alderwood. There's not a sort of standard size, standard fits all, that sort of thing. Yeah, so we work on a real individual basis for the kids.
And I don't want to peel the curtain back too far on the production of this podcast, but prior to recording, we did have a little chat about things that we might need to cover. And one thing that you said was really important is just how strong the curriculum is here at Alderwood. I wonder if you can develop on that.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of work actually, sort of trying to secure a curriculum which fits Alderwood, and we have children that are here 3 days a week on site. We have children we support out in the community that might be for 2 hours a week. So it's about having a curriculum that is adaptable, but also one that is ambitious for all of the kids. Quite often the pupils that we serve have had an education experience that has been impacted by, I don't know, suspensions, exclusions, their family life being difficult, I guess. And so again, there's no standard sort of this is the curriculum we offer. There's always a lot of scaffolding that needs to happen for each individual child. But again, what we do really well is we find out as much as we can about each individual child, and that helps us sculpt and build a curriculum that is fit for their individual pupils.
And I don't think we touched on it too much last time, and perhaps it does need more emphasis, is the fact that when students come to Alderwood, it's not your traditional classroom with 30 students. It's much smaller and much focused.
Yeah, the offer that we give the pupils is in line with the national curriculum. They're entitled to that. It's just, yeah, the environment is different. We're on alternative provision, so it's a case of, again, adapting what we deliver here. We have our sort of standard offer, but it needs moulding and shaping for the kids. The size is smaller, classes are smaller. That's one of the main points of provision, and the ratio of staff is higher than what you'd have in a mainstream. But again, we're developing these children with the aim of them going, the ones that are site-based anyway, for those guys to get back into mainstream school. So we can't deviate too much, because the expectations need to align with what mainstreams expect in terms of behaviour, in terms of curriculum, in terms of resilience to learning, social skills. All of that stuff needs to be secure.
And I'm going to pick you up on the fact that you said site-based there, so presumably there's students that don't come to Alderwood but are still part of Alderwood.
So again, that's because every child is so different, and every child has their own needs and the situations that they find themselves in. We do offer on-site placements. We offer fractional placements on site where children spend a certain part of the week here and then go back to the mainstreams. We have a full-time offer here, but we also, a massive part of what we do is the work out in the community. So we will go into schools and we will deliver in schools what the mainstream school want us to deliver, or we can deliver our own curriculum out in the community. So we've got some children that may be in sort of transition between schools and need a bit of educational input before they move to another mainstream, a specialist. So again, it's about being adaptable and fitting that curriculum around that child.
And as a head teacher, how do you find that relationship with the mainstream schools? Do you find there's a lot of support and a good communication?
Yeah, I think on the whole, yes. I think that sits with me as a leader and the leaders across the trust to make sure that the home schools and mainstream schools know what our offer is pre-placement, so that they understand what our desired outcomes are for that placement. So again, if they can be very varied, but as long as we're all working towards the same goal, then it will work. If there's not parity between what our intended outcomes are, sometimes it can be a bit tricky, but it sits with me as head teacher to iron those out and make sure that we're all sort of pushing in the right direction for the pupil, because they're the most important person in this. So.
And one of the things in that meeting beforehand that we spoke about, and one thing he was very passionate about is these very words sat behind us here, social and emotional learning. Now, before we delve into how Alderwood developed that, just tell us what those very words mean to you.
So I think what has sort of really driven Alderwood forward this academic year in particular is this has given us a real identity as a school. Being an alternative provision, behaviour is obviously at the forefront of the pupils' presentation when they join us and throughout. So it's about tackling that, and what we felt, and I felt as a leader, that this model can cover everything that we want to cover in an offer for our pupils, and this is on-site and off-site as well. So we can link everything back into these 5 core areas, and if pupils develop in each of those areas during their time at Alderwood, then they're in a better place than when they joined us. So we link this through, it's woven through everything we do. It's explicitly taught, for example, in PSHE lessons. At the start of every lesson, it will refer to what one of these core skills you're going to learn about today. So it's really explicit in that sense. But also we weave it into our targets that the pupils have every session. So they have an individual target bespoke to them. And then also a target is for them to demonstrate, not all of these every session, that's too ambitious, but one of these, or one or more each session. Have you developed your relationship skills with your peers, for example? That would be a conversation at the end of the lesson. Yes, great, amazing. How did you do that? And it just builds a narrative with the pupils, and it becomes, it's given us a real identity as a school, and the pupils are really familiar with it. It also drives through the obviously the behaviour system that accumulates at the end of the week as a certificate, a celebration assembly, which the pupils are really bought into and are really driven by. We also, these 5 core areas are what pupils achieve their dojo points on, and what that accumulates into is the pupils in the class together pick a trip or award they want to do together, and so it's not individual. It's about teamwork and relationship skills, and then they accumulate points to go to a trip. So last week, one of the classes went to Jimmy's farm. Another one of the groups went to a cat cafe. So it's really individual to what they need, but it's something for them to drive towards and to sort of keep that constant narrative about these 5 core skills. And then what we also do every week is we do an assembly based on one of these, and we alternate, and the staff alternate too. So each staff member has the responsibility of delivering a weekly assembly based on this to all of the pupils, to really, again, affirm these core values for the school.
And for the benefit of the viewer, or perhaps somebody that's listening to audio only, the 5 key things on this poster read self-awareness, self-management, responsible decisions, relationship skills, and social awareness. And Tom, I just wonder as well, is the idea behind this that actually when these kids go beyond Alderwood, that they can carry this into later life, can't they?
That's exactly it. So it's pupils that come, especially on site, but off site, they're only with us for a limited period of time. And there's only so much we can do in that period of time. And if we can instill them with with some of these core skills that they can then take away and use in their mainstream schools, in whatever walk of life they move into, whatever stage of education they move to, then that's a win, isn't it? So I think what we baseline the pupils when they come in, we then review it so we can see the progress against these core skills. And yeah, for them to be able to retain the skills they've learnt here, and then when they go back to their mainstreams, for example, in a situation that would have previously unsettled them and maybe led to negative behaviour, if they're, like, the dream outcome is for them to self-reflect, use these key skills, and it not to happen again, then that's success, isn't it?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
they're making the mainstream is then going to be more accessible for them, and they can engage better.
And a big part of all of this is the student council. How important is it for the students to have that autonomy over their own learning? And like you said, when they're making the decisions on the trip, it gives them a bit of control.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the pupils that we serve here at Alderwood and off-site and on-site they're the pupils that we're not always involved in things like school council at their mainstream schools. So we felt and pupil voice is huge. We know it's massive, and especially in settings like Alderwood, where you're not going to get the best out of the pupil if they're not confident enough to talk and to tell you what they want, or to tell you how they want to improve or develop. And so I run the student council we do it fortnightly. We come and sit in here, we have an agenda, we sit down and we have a chat with all the pupils. And it's been so powerful this year because we're really fortunate in the pupils that we've got, and the discussions that we have during those meetings are really meaningful, and the students really want the best for the school and each other's outcomes. They don't choose like ludicrous suggestions for school council. No. They're really like relevant to hear, and so we do it fortnightly, because then when we go back we revisit our actions from last meeting. And a key bit of that is about pupils seeing us as staff go away and put into place what they've requested. And then that's the buy-in for the pupils. If they can see it and they understand it and the process, then next time we have a student council, they'll be more confident to speak up and say, actually, I think this could change, or can we do this? Or we talk about a whole range of things. So we talk about like break times, social times, how could they be improved? Trips, we talk about lunches, we talk about snacks, we talk about everything and anything of Alderwood. So it covers a whole breadth of everything, and they really look forward to it. It's a real key part of their offer here.
And shall we touch upon a bit more? I mean, you've mentioned about trips, but also I understand there's visitors that have been in here, not least the robot dog.
Yeah,
and you've had a police officer here as well.
Yeah, well, again, another big push this year has been careers education. And at primary level, we've made a commitment as a school to offer our pupils employment encounters on a regular basis, just to spark interest in a vocation, a career sort of path. I know they're primary school kids, but it's really important to start having those conversations at a primary level. So again, through student council, one of the agenda items one week was careers. Let's have a talk about what who would you like to come in and have a chat with you? We were lucky enough, we've built up a sort of a partnership with Atkins Realis, which is a nuclear engineering company worldwide.
Yeah.
They've come in, and like you mentioned, the robot dog. So, and that's just to spark interest. They call it a disruptor day, where we didn't tell the kids about the robot dog. They come in, that's the point of it. The robot dog enters the classroom and it sparks conversation.
Yeah.
And what was amazing about that is we didn't tell the kids, and we sort of, as staff here, we sat back a bit and then let their curiosity take over. They were asking the staff from Atkins Realis loads of really amazing questions, and that naturally happened, and that was the point of the whole thing. These dogs are used primarily in for example, if there's asbestos in a building, they'll send it in. It's got a camera. It can do the jobs that humans can't do. And the pupils absolutely loved it. Then our work and partnership with Atkins Realis is they're going to come in over the next month or so and deliver some bespoke lessons on IT, and hopefully we're going to build our own robot dog, that sort of thing. So that's one key thing we've done this year. And also we've had police officers in, our local police officer, to come and talk about their journey into the police, brought some resources in. They made some fingerprint keychains. It was amazing. We've had the local vicar from the church over the road come in again, spoke about her journey into the church, what she does for the community. And even today we went and supported with the local food bank at the church, just to sort of wrap it all up and triangulate that relationship with the local community as well, which is really important.
And for you, it must be a mark of success when you see the students naturally communicating that curiosity, like you say, when the robot dog come in and they were naturally asking questions. That must really please you.
Yeah, and I think like what we touched on before, like every pupil's journey is different, and how you gauge success is bespoke to the child. And pupils that previously wouldn't have done that, and then in terms of when they joined us, they were quite anxious, and in terms of asking questions, they were quite reluctant to do so. And then when you see that happening in front of you, that's impact. That is, they've come from here to there, and that's amazing. And they're interacting appropriately with people they're not familiar with, and that's the point of those things, really. And they still, and this happened, the robot dog was before Christmas, and even today I heard a conversation between two of the kids about the robot dog. Like, these experiences that they're getting have a real big impact on the kids.
And I wonder as well, because we talk a lot previously on the podcast about pathways, and I know you're very focused on social and emotional learning. Is the pathways more something for the teachers to be aware of? Are the students aware of the pathways that they're on, or do you try and keep that away from them as such?
No, we're quite explicit with the pupils that the reasons why, number one, they're with us. They ask those questions, and rightly so. They've had a change of their schooling. You naturally ask, why am I here? We have honest and open conversations with children individually about that. Pathways are different. So we've got some kids here that come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they go back to the mainstream Thursday, Friday. Some children are here Monday to Friday. They do ask, well, why am I doing that and why am I not doing that? And it's all about, again, speaking to the pupils really openly and honestly about their journey and why they're here and what the intended outcomes are, because they need to understand it as well. Rather than just, I've been placed at Alderwood, I don't know why I'm here. We need to be really explicit with them on why.
And do you find that students that are on the same pathways naturally tend to be closer in school?
The two different pathways, for example, on site here have their own classrooms. So because their curriculum offer is slightly different because of one's fractional, one's not. But again, student council is everyone together, playtime is everyone together, swimming off site every week is together. So we bring all of the kids together as much as we can. It's just in terms of that curriculum delivery, we can't put them all together at the same time. But other than lunchtimes are all together, breakfast time when they arrive in the morning, everyone's together, staff are here. So that's where we see real good impact, like that social interaction with all of the kids.
So it's one school, one community, just perhaps different journeys.
The pupils don't feel sort of segregated at all by pathway. They're Alderwood pupils. They're just in a different class, like you would be at mainstream. You're just in a different class. Yeah,
perfect. And I just wonder, Tom, sort of in the next few years, I mean, you're obviously very happy with how things are going at Alderwood at the minute. What is success to you over the next 2, 3, 4 years?
Like I said earlier, I think success is equipping the children we serve as best we can during the time they're with us.
Yeah.
And that can look so different. That's it for me. It's about the pupils. It's about their outcomes. Are they successful? Helping them and helping their families as best we can. That's it. It's not about data as such. It's not. It's on the individual level for that pupil and their families. Are we promising them our offer? Like, are we delivering what we're saying we're going to deliver? And gauging success sometimes can be tricky. But feedback from parents is amazing. That's when you know you've had a real big impact. Ex-pupils, I've been here long enough now. I've had pupils come back. I had one recently, 22-year-old lad came back just to say hello, and what an amazing journey he'd been on. And you'd have thought at the time he was probably not going to access what he has, but he has.
No.
And he made the point of coming back and saying thank you, and that's where success is. Sometimes you don't feel it, and you don't feel it every day.
No, that's got to put a smile on your face
exactly
when you see somebody.
and you share those stories, and yeah, that's why we do it.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a really good note to leave it on. It's been very valuable to hear from Tom, somebody that is here at one of our Readwald Trust sites every day, giving everything to the students. So thank you very much for watching as a viewer. I hope you've taken something away from this. Tom, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. And we'll be back with more Readwald Trust podcasts soon. But in the meantime, if you would like to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can be notified when that does happen, that would be greatly appreciated. But for now, thank you very much.